All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to historic Avern B. Fogelman Arena in Devlin Fieldhouse. Today, we're here to introduce the 24th head men's basketball coach in school history. Our speakers of today, Tulane President Mike Fitz, Director of Athletics Troy Dannon, and the new head men's basketball coach, Mike Dunleavy Sr. Once Coach Dunleavy concludes his remarks, we'll take questions from the media, and all three individuals will be available to the media following the press conference. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the president of Tulane University, Mike Fitz.
Let me just say, this is a beautiful site, which is filled stands at a basketball game. So this is a wonderful moment for Tulane University, Tulane athletics, and Tulane basketball. As we know, we're in the middle of March Madness, so everybody all around the country is speculating who would make the Final Four, who will win the national championship. Well, here at Tulane, we've had our own March Madness, which is the speculation about who would be the next head coach at Tulane University. And let me say, we think we've won the national championship with this selection. So, as you know, 4 months ago, we named a new director of athletics. And Troy Dannon stood here and vowed that he would be focused like a laser beam on the performance on the field and on the court. And what we've seen since then is the appointment of a new head coach in football, Willie Fritz. In volleyball, Jim Barnes. And now the trifecta, Mike Dunleavy Sr. Now, Troy is going to make the official introduction, but just let me say, from the perspective of everybody, this is a master basketball coach. He's somebody who's performed at the highest levels. He's somebody who's a phenomenal teacher, and you can look at his track record both on the court and who he's taught, who he's trained. He is just an amazing individual for us to welcome into the Greenway family. And as I say, we're all proud not only of what we see and what his accomplishments have been, but what we can foresee about Tulane athletics going down the line. We can look forward, needless to say, to future March Madnesses when there's speculation at Tulane University about where we will land within the national March Madness. So with that, I want to turn it over to the impresario of this entire process, the Director of Athletics, Troy Dannon.
I think what President meant by all of that is we have to quit meeting like this. There have been a lot of press conferences and a lot of announcements, but the neat thing about New Orleans and about Tulane, press conferences are more pep rally than they are press conference. So I never get tired of pep rallies, and pep rallies are there to celebrate something. And boy, I feel like we're celebrating the real deal today with Mike's introduction. Before I get started with a couple of things, one, I don't know that Daryl Berger was here this morning. Daryl hosted us for dinner last night, but I wanted to thank Daryl and the board for empowering this university and its athletics department to move forward and to raise our level to be a top 40 athletic program, just as this institution is a top 40 institution in the country. I want to thank the president because he's empowered me to put together a staff that we feel in the department's capable of doing everything that we aspire to do, to have every success that we all aspire for our university to have. And thank him for empowering us to get that done. And I also want to thank someone that never gets thanked, and that's the General Counsel of the institution, Victoria Johnson, because she spent Easter, she spent Good Friday, she spent most of her vacation at her friend's house in California helping to get this contract done so we could have this introduction today. So that was kind of above and beyond from Tori, and I do want to thank her publicly for everything she did. Now, 2 weeks ago today, we started a search, and there was one objective in the search, and that was to find somebody that had a defibrillator in their pocket. Basically, the guy that could come in and put that defibrillator down and shock what I think is a sleeping giant back into life. That's what we were looking for. I didn't know who. I knew characteristics. I needed somebody of high character. I needed somebody with charisma. I needed somebody that was a great evaluator of talent, somebody that was a great teacher, a teacher of life and a teacher of the game. And I needed somebody, and I've said this a lot, I needed somebody who was a winner. So I started the search. 2 days into the search, I got an email from a friend of mine down front that played football here, Miles Clements. And he said, hey, Mike Dunleavy's interested in your job. And I said, I'm not interested. He's still playing for the Bulls. I don't want anything to do with him. And he responded back, says, no, the other Mike Dunleavy. And I said, you mean the guy that was an All-American at South Carolina as an athlete, the guy who played in the NBA, played with Dr. J, was NBA Coach of the Year, the guy that coached Magic, had Kareem, the guy that went to Wall Street and made a ton of money on Wall Street, the guy that was a general manager and kind of rebuilt an organization in the face of an owner who, man, I told him I won't be as hard to work with, but he rebuilt the Clippers organization as a general manager, a guy who is on air as a media personality. You mean that Mike Dunleavy, the guy who, all of those things I was looking for, that he hit him to a T. He's really interested in this job. Yeah, he is. So 2 days later, I had a phone call with Mike. And I was almost like a kid in the candy store because I watched him growing up. I watched him on the bench. I watched him on the floor. The guy didn't know how to lose. That's what I want. The guy was going to run through a wall to succeed. That's what I want. So I had this conversation with him. Man, he was all that and more. So last Wednesday, a week ago tomorrow, we had lunch at a place called Uncle Peter's by LaGuardia Airport in New York City. And I sat across from him, and the most important thing I was looking for was what I was told when I was looking at this job. And you better want to be in New Orleans. You better love it. You better embrace it. And I knew his wife's sister lived here, and I knew he'd been here before, and I was convinced. But he told me 3 times he wanted the job. He told me 3 times he wanted to be at Tulane. He told me 3 times he wanted to be in New Orleans. He has a passion for us, and he has a passion for the city, and he has a passion to teach. And I don't care what level you're coaching at, professional, college, high school. And I don't care what kind of man that you're trying to deal with, whether it's a guy who makes $20 million or a guy who's never going to catch the floor. The ability to teach and care about people is what defines you as a great coach. And I walked out of there and I looked at the guy that I had with me and I said, he's the one. That night I called him and offered him the job. He accepted it. Thankfully, we had 2 days to get some stuff done before it finally leaked out. But we got the guy we want. We got the guy we need. We got a guy with a resume that no one else in the country has. At the college level, Mike Dunleavy is unprecedented. And I will tell you the last 2 things about him. When I did my diligence, the greatest compliments that anyone else will ever give another coach. That when he walks into a gym, I don't care if it's in the American Conference, I don't care if it's in the ACC, I don't care if it's the national championship game, he will never be outcoached. That's a pretty strong compliment. And the second thing was that he cares about the guys and he teaches the game better than anyone else in the world. He knows the game. A lot of people know the game, but the ability to teach the game. So with all of that said, I'm very, very proud to be able to introduce one of the great teachers, one of the great basketball minds, and thankfully, the new head men's basketball coach of the Tulane Green Wave, Mike Dunleavy.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you so much for coming out. Troy, thanks for that very nice introduction. Unfortunately for you, there's a couple of other Dunleavys you might rather have. One's the player, and there's another guy who's coaching in the Final Four for Villanova this weekend. So, fortunately, they weren't available at the time. President Fitz, thank you so much. Again, enjoyed meeting you and for having me be a part of your family here at Tulane. It's very exciting for me. I was looking to get to the college level in order to put myself in a position to coach again and to really to be a teacher. I know I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I've played basketball my whole life. I've been influenced. I had a great high school coach in Brooklyn, a guy named Jim McMorrow, and then I went to South Carolina and played for legendary Frank McGuire. We had some great teams at South Carolina, and then fortunately I was drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers, and as Troy alluded to, played with so many great players, Dr. J being one of them, but gosh, I think I've played with 10 to 15 Hall of Famers. You name them, Dr. J, George Gervin, the Iceman, Moses Malone, Artis Gilmore, World Be Free, a few characters along the way as well. It's been a great life. It's been a great experience. He played up my winning a little bit too much, but he was right about the fact that I don't take losing well. And I was very fortunate as a player to play on a playoff team every year of my career. I've been fortunate in the NBA. I've had some challenges I've taken on. I've had good teams and I've had rebuilding situations. They've always turned out a lot better than from when I started. The one thing I can say from a coaching standpoint that I would say, everybody Googles everything, as far as, records are concerned. If you look at my record, I'm not afraid to take on a challenge. So I've taken teams that had no chance of winning, but when I've left, they've moved on. The Clippers being a prime example of that. Before I got to the Clippers, they made the playoffs 2 times in 30 years. And then, we built a great program there, and now they're a perennial playoff, team that's competing for a championship with guys that I drafted, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, etc. So that part of the basketball part's I kind of look at it as the easy part. I've already been to the Harvard, the Stanfords, and the Tulane of the basketball world, and now I'm looking to be a teacher of men. I look for the opportunity to bring young guys in and guide them through their paths. Some are going to have aspirations to make it to the pros. Some probably aren't going to make it there. But what I vow to every home I walk in is that you're gonna come to this school. You're gonna get a great education, and then when you're finished being a good citizen here at Tulane, you're gonna be welcomed into the New Orleans community. There'll be jobs waiting and a place that you're gonna enjoy living for many years for the rest of your life. So those are the goals, to get great guys with character. I've coached all kinds of teams. One of them was called, when I went there, they were called the Jailblazers. Currently known as the Trailblazers, and I went in there with the mindset that, look, you can have great talent, you can have great athleticism, but ultimately if you really want to win, you win with character. And so the guys that ultimately that we will look to bring in here and matriculate are going to be kids that have a lot of character, that who knows when things get tough, that's when you really get going. That that you don't wilt in the face of adversity. That you learn. I mean, basketball is such a life's tool. Teaches you, prepares you to go into for all of us, right? College years have been the greatest. When you get out, there's lots that you don't know. You don't know what you're going to face, but the time that you put in between your family and your school is what kind of gets you through it. So again, that's my objective here, is to build a program where our players will come back and they'll feel great about the time they spent here, and they know they can rely on us and lean on us for help going forward in the future, and they will be our biggest supporters out there in the community. They will be our biggest marketers out there, saying that Tulane is a place that you want to come go to school and a place where you want to come play basketball. So again, thank you so much for coming here today. and I'll open it up for any kind of questions that you might have.
Members of the media, if you'll raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you. Who wants to go first?
Coach Rod Walker with the New Orleans Advocate. What do you think the biggest adjustment will be going from the NBA to the college game?
Recruiting test I have to take this afternoon in order to be able to go out on the road tomorrow.
I mean, on the floor, what type of adjustment is the most different between NBA and college? Is it just the number of plays that get called? Is it the 30-second shot clock? What is kind
So
of
there are a few differences, obviously. There's some rule differences. The 30-second clock probably will be the biggest. The other one would be probably at the end of games, NBA-wise. You can take a timeout and you can advance the ball to, up the floor. So, shorter seconds. You have to, as far as when the game would still be on the line, for instance. You score a bucket in an NBA game, 1.3 seconds timeout, you advance the ball, and you got plenty of time to get the ball in, get a shot, maybe win a game. NCAA, you take it out full court, so you've got to have those kind of situation plays that in order to advance, your different strategies. Advance it, take another timeout, depending on how many timeouts you have, in order to create basically the same situation.
My name is Fletcher Mackel. I work at WDSU TV. I have two questions, actually. You referenced taking on tough jobs. How soon can you turn this tough job into success? How quickly do you envision making this program relevant again? And second, can you talk about your ties to New Orleans? Because it seems like we've mentioned your name a lot in recent years. I know you were part of an ownership group that potentially tried to buy the Hornets, and you have family ties here.
Yeah,
as well.
actually had that deal for about 30 seconds. So a couple of things as far as turning it around. I think we'll get a turnaround as quickly as possible. The first thing, honestly, that I have to understand and learn. I have to study a little bit is the team and understanding the players. I mean, I look at it as there's a certain way I would love to play, but my job as a coach basically is to come in and evaluate the talent and figure out, what's the best way for them to win. What skill sets do they have, and how can I take best advantage of those skill sets in order to help them to win. I would tell you that from the very first start, it starts at the defensive end of the floor. We want to work, really hard. First of all, get in great shape, be a great defensive team, because that mostly takes on effort. And if you're giving your great effort out there, that's going to translate into close games. And then hopefully my job is, if I can keep a game close enough that I can find a way, find the hot hand or find the matchup that gets you to take it home to the finish line. And as far as New Orleans, when I decided to go the NCAA route, it was kind of because, we alluded to this situation with Donald Sterling, the owner of the Clippers, and how all that happened, and just who he is. I spent close to 2 years, in a lawsuit with him, and got out of the way and passed up some opportunities in the NBA with situations that weren't great teams. I was looking, hey, I'm only interested in coaching somebody really good, and then it basically comes. You go through a cycle of it, and then honestly, the chances of getting a really good team in the NBA is harder and harder, and there's so few teams. So what I look for is, okay, I think I know talent. I think I've picked the most NBA All-Stars in the last 20 years. I've picked 5, and DeAndre Jordan might make it 6 at some point. I think he's got that kind of talent. So I feel like I understand talent. I know talent. So that gives me an edge. I have a world-class recruiting staff that's not even working at Tulane, in the sense that I have all these scouts that have worked for me for over the years that are in Europe, Australia, and Africa. So I think I have a wide web of where I can go for talent. I think that the next important thing for me was it has to be a city that I feel like that I would enjoy living in for the next 10 plus years. And New Orleans, I was checking off these boxes when Tulane, name, came up. And I'm saying, well, I already know I like New Orleans. I already was willing to make a commitment here. I have family here, and I think bottom line is it's a pro city has all the pro everything as far as sports is concerned. It's got a great fan base, and between Louisiana, Texas, Georgia, Florida, all those, the surrounding states, there's a great talent base. So, I mean, I looked at it like there's no reason why you can't win in a big way here. And the two programs that I've been most associated with have been Duke and Villanova. Small private schools, with small on-campus gyms, but have an opportunity to go play in way bigger venues as you get better. So, I may be naive, but that's my goal. I'm looking at, President Fitz and Troy said, hey, we're looking at playing this kind of weekend somewhere along the line, and that's the goal. I can't tell you how long it's going to take to get there. It depends on a few different factors, but I'm totally a believer. I think it can get done here, and I think I'm going to do it.
Hey, Coach. Is it on? Obviously, you've seen how certain successful college coaches don't find that their attributes translate well in the NBA and vice versa. It's happened a lot of times. So I'm curious, at this point in your life, after so much time in the NBA, why do you think this is the right move?
Because I love to teach. I've seen it along the way. Fortunately, I have a little bit of a track record. I've produced 3 Division I basketball players in my family. So I think that qualifies me a little bit of saying I can walk into somebody's house and say, I've seen your son play, and I think he's a good, Division I player that could play for me, and I think I can develop him. And here are my references. They're Dunleavy, Dunleavy, and Dunleavy. So that's one of the ways. And the other fact is that, I think from a standpoint of talent level, that, first of all, and I talked to Troy, one of the first things we were talking about players, and I told the players yesterday in a meeting with them, the first thing you're going to find out, the first thing I want to find out about them is, what is it that they can do well? Because that's really what I care about. I said, from the first start, I'm going to try and make these guys the very best players they can be. I'm going to show them things that, as far as, hey, you've got 4 years, in some cases you got 3 years left, 2, 1 years, how many years you have left. I'm going to show you things that would help you get to whatever next level you're capable of playing at. So if you work hard, I'm going to lead you in the right direction. You're not going to work on a lot of stuff that's not going to help you, potentially get to that next level. So those are the important things. If I have somebody over here who can make 12-foot jumpers, I'm going to find a way to get them 12-foot jumpers. The one thing you can look up that, from a factual standpoint of guys that I've had as free agents in the NBA, they all get paid. Now, they may not all get paid by me, but they're all getting paid because they do certain things. I try to bring out in them what they do well, and people look at them and appreciate that fact. So I think that's a positive, and I'm hoping that helps, when you do that the players enjoy playing because, what their roles, they feel, look, everything everybody does, what we do is all about confidence. I feel like, I told these guys yesterday, hey, I really don't know right now, I don't have my total confidence about saying that I'm the best shooter in this gym right now. But when I left the last pro job I had, I was the best shooter in the gym. And so I've had a little bit of time off. My wife has played a little defense on me. And so I'm not sure if it's exactly there yet, and they won't see it for a while. I'm going to get back in the gym and before we go out and play our horse game, or I get challenged from one of these gentlemen over here. But that's the reality of it, is that, I'm going to do for them what they do best, and I think they're going to enjoy it, and we're going to play hard. And to me, that's the most important thing, is the effort that you put out there. Playing together and playing hard, boy, that creates a lot of victories.
Gary Smith with the New Orleans Advocate. Six years is a long time to be out of coaching. Was there a time, were you sure you were going to get back into the business, and how eager are you to get back into it after that long?
I am. First of all, I haven't coached, you're right, in the sense of I haven't had a team to coach, but I spend time, working with guys individually, just because I'm a gym rat. When I live in LA, I go watch all the workouts of all the, I know, all the agents, most of the agents are based in LA. In the off seasons, they bring in all their players. So they'll call me up and say, hey, would you come down and like give our guys a clinic or work with our players or do this? And I enjoy it. I always say yes. Somebody calls me up, hey, I've got a kid here. Would you come over and work with him? So that part of it. And unfortunately, I decided that I wanted to do, college basketball about probably 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And unfortunately, one of the things that I didn't really understand was that most of the colleges now use search committees. I mean, they go out and hire outside people to conduct searches. And, and I didn't realize that. So I had all kinds of alums, who gave a lot of money to school, probably put their names on buildings and said, look, you got to come coach our team. And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to coach your team. It's a great area. It's a good city, great recruiting base. And then it kind of didn't happen. And then I realized, wow, I need to go meet these guys that are really kind of setting the athletic directors up and to do the hiring. So I met with guys in New York. I met with guys in Atlanta. I met with a guy in Dallas. And all of a sudden I got to meet these guys, and they now knew I was interested, and they would tell me, okay, I'll put you on every list I have. I won't say the name of the school, but I was offered a job last year from a school, but I shouldn't say that. Basically, the search guy said, look, this is a job that I would put you at the top of the list for and tell them, this is the guy you should hire. But it just wasn't in a place that, that I could see living for the next 10 or 15 years. Nothing against where it is, but just didn't see it. To me, that's one of the things I had to be excited about coming someplace, being in a community that I know I would enjoy living and, being a part of it. So that's the story. 3 years has probably been the time frame that I've been really kind of looking at it and looking for an opportunity.
Andrew Lopez, Tom's Picayune. Do you have a timetable on your assistant coaches that you want to put together? Do you want to have it done relatively soon? And do you feel like there's going to be a guy on that staff that is well experienced in the college game, or is that something you're not looking for?
So the amazing thing about all of this is that I know so many people in this in basketball in general, and I can't even believe, since this has been announced, the names and what has really come up as far as people interested in the job, but more than that, I mean, coaches around the country who have potential of future players saying, wow, this is amazing. I would definitely, send you guys in the future. This takes it to another level. And, and so, coach, this is so-and-so from, hey, I used to be in New York. I'm now in Chicago. And where guys have moved between high school and and AAU programs. So the answer is, I have no timetable. I have a lot to get through. And I talked to, some of the staff here today as well. And basically, I'm going to evaluate and hire the best guys I can hire. For the most part, I would say virtually everybody will have, NCAA experience. Maybe, there may be one or two guys that don't need it, based on the positions. Obviously, your three assistant coaches for me will be guys who are, have worked in the NCAA for sure. And after that, it kind of just depends.
Leslie Spoon from WWL. Two quick questions. First of all, we're all wondering if Baker will end up on your staff. And then also,
I think that's probably tampering. I'm not sure. In the NBA, it's tampering. Can't talk about somebody who has a job. Okay. So next, I don't want to get you guys fined.
I'm just worried about I was wondering if you're worried about relating to some 19, 20-year-old kids who are juggling class, not making millions of dollars. They still have to go to study hall and all that stuff.
The only people I'm worried about relating to right now are names Lucy, who's 5, Jack, who's 4, Ben, who's getting ready to be 1, and Rosie, who's at the Final Four, who's 2. Everybody else I'm pretty good with. Them I'm not so sure about.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today. You've been a great audience. Please stick around for a little meet and greet with the coach when we're done with the media interviews. As for the media, we're going to do one-on-ones over here to your left, to the right of the stage. Thank you.